In a major escalation, Donald Trump has ordered the US Navy to blockade the Strait of Hormuz at midnight our time.
Posting on social media, any Iranian who fires at us or at peaceful vessels will be blown to hell.
I think Iran is in very bad shape.
Hello, I'm Linton Besser. Welcome to Media Watch. And tonight, the peacemakers back on a war footing, having already declared victory over a 2,500-year-old civilisation it had promised to wipe out, with America, not Iran, now promising a naval blockade.
Donald Trump is upping the pressure today, ordering the US Navy to begin blocking the Strait of Hormuz.
After 5 weeks of bombing and a gruelling 1 day of negotiations, the American Vice President called it quits.
We've made very clear what our red lines are, and they have chosen not to accept our terms.
And returned to where his great leader was occupied with more important matters. But how did we arrive at this rather perfect outcome? After all, the ceasefire had been flawless.
It's been around 24 hours since this ceasefire agreement was announced and confusion reigns. There are still strikes happening. The US and Israel, they say that Lebanon was never included in this ceasefire agreement, but Iran says it was.
Which Vance himself explained was but an innocent mistake.
I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't.
In any case, Donald Trump is already satisfied of his great triumph.
Regardless what happens, we win. Maybe they make a deal, maybe they don't. Doesn't matter. From the standpoint of America, we win.
Which had been put even more succinctly by his crusader-in-chief.
A capital V military victory.
But how do you say capital V in Farsi? Because last Wednesday, Tehran was also claiming the win.
و امریکای جنایتکار را مجبور به پذیرش طرح 10 ماده‌ای خود نمود که
And when CNN reported this statement, Iran claiming to have forced the United States to accept its 10 demands, Trump suffered his usual conniption.
The alleged statement put out by CNN World News is a fraud. CNN is being ordered to immediately withdraw the statement with full apologies.
America's broadcasting regulator rallying to the cause.
More outrageous conduct from CNN. Time for change at CNN.
Another Trump tanty perhaps, but with potentially chilling consequences. That same regulator threatening to revoke news broadcasters' licences over their coverage of the war. And with Trump acolyte David Ellison, already in control of CBS News, now poised to seize the company that runs CNN. A development that has true believers licking their chops.
The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better.
It almost goes without saying, but CNN's reporting was anything but a fraud. Trump's outburst awarded False Claim of the Week by one fact-checking outfit. And rather than deliver the apology Trump demanded, CNN's Jake Tapper politely told the president to go and get nicked.
Our job is not to try and please the president or only report the statements he likes. We're going to tell you what's going on.
For how much longer Tapper and company are free to do so, we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, with polls on the slide, the Trump propaganda machine rolls on. US diplomats ordered to work a PSYOPs campaign to tell the American story abroad, and the White House setting up its own app, promising news direct from the source right in your pocket. Because that's what we need at this time in the world. Calamities as conquests and blunders as bullseyes in yet more notifications from the Mad King. Now to some brilliant documentary television set in the Australian outback, starring the yellow metal and the lovable rogues who fever for it.
Hunting for monster nuggets isn't just a job, it's an obsession.
Yes! I'll do whatever it takes to bring home the gold.
That is huge!
I could not have done it without you.
For 10 seasons and more than 100 episodes since 2016, Aussie Gold Hunters has transfixed audiences with strike-it-rich moments like this from Season 5.
Russell?
Yes?
Russell?
What?
I think I found something. It's a bit of gold. It's sticking out of the ground.
You're joking.
No, you better come and have a look at it. Look at this. Just listen to the sound of winning.
The show is now Discovery Channel Australia's all-time highest-rating Australian program and a money spinner. Screened in more than 140 countries worldwide with an estimated international audience of 40 million people, some of whom are treated to a slightly different Aussie twang.
Una pepita da $200.000.
Stiamo riscrivendo la storia. In questa stagione la caccia all'oro esploderà in tutta l'Australia.
Abbiamo l'oro! Questa serie sulla televisione.
Oh, cut that out. This television series, which follows teams of prospectors on their hunt for treasure and billed as a documentary, specialises in triumph and tribulation, like when prospectors Greg and Chris Clark lose one of their toy poodles, the aptly named Lolly, near croc-infested waters.
Oh, are you serious? She's gone and slipped a harness. She could be croc bait right now. Lolly! Hello? Lolly! Oh, God. Don't let Lolly be in there.
Until Greg remembered how best he might summon his beast.
Hello? Lolo, here. Come here, Bubba. Come here. Come on. Did you find her? Come here. Oh, you silly dog. You silly girl. Where you been?
We spoke to Chris and Greg Clark about this close shave, and would you believe it, Lolly may not have been in quite as much peril as you might think.
She had been taken away in an air-conditioned car so she would not bark, and we had to pretend she might have been taken by a crocodile.
The car drove down and they let her out.
But what about all that raw emotion? Surely not crocodile tears.
The director was going up and down the creek with Chris, the stuff he was saying to make her cry.
But to be doubly sure, we got our hands on the outtakes.
Maybe a bit more worried, Craig. Hey? Be more worried. The tone of your voice sounds very worried. Oh. Lolly! Where is she? Oh. Really good, guys. That's great.
With this Academy Award-worthy performance by Greg left on the cutting room floor.
You're going to be crocodile bait, I thought, for sure, you silly dog.
Oh, maybe next time we're not so close to the water.
A not-so-lost pooch? So what? We can all forgive a little artistic licence, especially when there are moments of real tension, like this confrontation with an angry station worker.
Oh, he's in a hurry. Holy Jesus, gosh.
Hey, what are you all doing here?
Excuse me, mate?
What are you guys doing on this land?
We're detecting. Why?
You guys have got no right to be here. I work on this property, mate.
This is crap.
You take your cameras with you and go.
Which, as it turns out, was just as nail-biting every other time they filmed the scene. Here's take one.
Now, what's his problem?
Hey, what's going on here?
What business of it is yours?
And take two.
Gosh. Oh, my goodness. What the heck?
Hey, what are you all doing here?
And take three.
Oh, my God.
Hey, what's going on here?
I'm detecting. Why?
No, you're not, mate. You're finished.
Although the tension was a little undercut when Greg Clark questioned the station workers' familiarity with his own cattle.
You know, they sit down and chew their cud in the middle of the day. They drink morning and night. You as a cow cocky should know that. Come on, Chris, I'm over.
And who was that cow cocky whose face was blurred in the vision which went to air? Well, we tracked him down. His name is Paul Parker, and he's no cocky, and nor was the scene filmed on anyone's private property.
It's just a public swimming hole where everyone goes swimming. Where they were, the best thing they'd find is a lost wedding ring.
Rather than a station worker, Paul was an employee of a local manufacturer and got roped into his star turn as a favour to a friend.
They wanted me to barrel in there like a maniac and getting stuck into them right away.
Which is precisely why Chris Clark remembers they had to do multiple takes. Paul, it turned out,
didn't skid the car enough.
And as for the whole scenario,
It was put on. They have to add stories to the show.
Of course they do. But surely the company behind this production would never fake a robbery.
So what's going on over here?
Hey! Hey, what are you doing? What do you think you're doing, mate? Wait! Wait! Get on the quad, yeah, bloody poachers. Get on the quad. Hey!
They never caught that poacher in the night, I'm sad to say, but we did. Because in the rushes,
Can't get on the quad! Yeah, keep running, buddy.
the dastardly pirate forgot to run away.
Hey, hey! Get him!
Oops. And there he is, the mystery poacher happily playing along. So who is this man rummaging about the prospectors' tents for the camera, hightailing it in the ute and strolling around holding that jerry can? Here's a clue as he comes in for a little chat with the camera operator.
Maybe roll on it this time, Wayne.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, obviously don't make it a feature of your shots, but...
That's right. The villain is not just a member of the crew, he's the story producer, Michael Dye, and the source of much hilarity on set when Rob and Turbo were later asked about thieves.
Is poaching much of a problem?
Well, when
Yes,
Michael's around, it's a big problem.
Not that he's any good, but yes.
Michael Dye told us the scene was a recreation in which he had no choice but to play a part because at that time of night there was no one else to call on.
There was the two talent, a cameraman, the soundo and myself. I was the only spare part in the mix.
But what about the gold? Those crucial discoveries of nuggets aren't faked, are they? Remember this moment of joy?
It's just sitting on the top. It's a really nice piece of gold.
Now listen closely to the producer's directions for the scene, caught by the camera mic.
When you do find it, Shane, you need to just really yell and say,
Hey.
Rusty, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, I got it. I know what you want.
He's an old hand at this caper, except the poor bloke couldn't remember where the nugget was.
Couldn't read about it. I can't find it. No, I'm lost.
Just a bit further forward there, Shane.
I don't know. I've given up. Where is the bloody thing?
But with a bit of help from the crew, eureka.
No, it's a bit of gold. It's sticking out of the ground, Russell. You're joking. No, you better come and have a look at it.
With just one more prompt from the wings.
A nice big reaction?
Russell, look at this. Look at this.
Shane Caligari will appear in his last season of Aussie Gold Hunters this year. Last week, I asked him how much of the show is faked.
80% of those shows are scripted prior to me going out there. Most of that gold we've found previously.
Which is just how Michael Dye remembers it too.
There was a fair amount of setting up of scenes. The show didn't bring them the gold, but they would save it from a previous hunt.
In fact, so much of this television series is so obviously bogus, from perilous near misses to emotional showdowns, many viewers haven't needed the rushes to get the point.
So manufactured that you can't help but laugh.
Phony and fake.
It's a pantomime.
But here's the twist. While you might think it absurd to call this guff a documentary, that's the very basis on which it's been partly funded by taxpayers. Screen West in Perth has paid out millions of dollars in grants to support the program, contingent on this show being a rinky-dink documentary. A spokesperson for Screen West told us the show
satisfied the documentary definition test outlined in the Australian Communications and Media Authority, ACMA, documentary guidelines.
It's also enjoyed support via Screen Australia. Its spokesperson would not comment specifically on Aussie Gold Hunters, but did confirm that when it has supported such programs, it's done so on the basis they satisfy the tax office definition of a documentary as
a creative treatment of actuality, having regard to the extent and purpose of any contrived situation featured in the film.
Creative indeed. Electric Pictures, the production company behind the treasure hunting series, told us it's produced to high editorial standards and that it greatly appreciates
the funding that Aussie Gold Hunters has received from government sources. These funding agencies have clear eligibility criteria which they rigorously assess, and Aussie Gold Hunters has always been found to be in compliance with the relevant funding guidelines.
Funding guidelines whose definition of documentary you might drive a truck through. In a way, this series does strike gold, because no matter how many nuggets its characters really find, the show certainly has tapped a vast audience for its roaming fantasy of storylines almost as soapy as Home and Away. All good and somewhat honest fun, though perhaps it might have been nice to let viewers in on the joke. And that's all from us tonight. Be sure to check us out on ABC iView as well as YouTube and Facebook. You can find full statements on our website. And don't forget to send us your tips. See you next week.